Have you ever imagined that a simple penny jingling in your pocket could be worth a staggering $543 million, transforming an ordinary piece of copper into a symbol of unimaginable fortune in numismatic history that rewrites everything we thought we knew about coin collecting? Because the 1979 1-cent coin, minted in Denver, has stunned collectors, experts, and treasure hunters across the world with its extraordinary story of minting errors, metallurgical anomalies, and historical intrigue that catapulted it into becoming one of the most valuable coins ever known. And it all begins with a year that seemed completely normal in American coinage, 1979, when millions of 1-cent coins rolled out of the Denver Mint, each bearing the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the iconic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Yet hidden among these countless coins was one specimen unlike any other, a coin that would one day be recognized for possessing a combination of features so rare and so precise that it defied logic and expectation, becoming the ultimate prize for numismatists, a coin so unique that even the most seasoned graders at PCGS and NGC could hardly believe what they saw when it surfaced decades later in near-perfect preservation, showing evidence of double dies, planchet errors, and an alloy composition never before documented for that minting year. And what made this discovery so electrifying was not only its unprecedented rarity, but the mystery of how such a coin could have been produced within the rigorous standards of the U.S. Mint, because in 1979, the Mint was undergoing significant changes, preparing for the transition from predominantly copper planchets to copper-plated zinc due to rising metal prices, a shift that created confusion and inconsistencies in some production batches, meaning a few coins could have been struck on leftover bronze planchets or experimental compositions, making them incredibly valuable today, and this 1979 penny is believed to be one such hybrid, containing traces of both bronze and zinc that produced a distinctive hue under spectral analysis, combined with an obverse die that shows unmistakable doubling on Lincoln's profile and the date, and a reverse that displays a striking misalignment that left part of the Lincoln Memorial slightly shifted, creating a visible error under magnification that collectors covet because such die shifts rarely survive quality control, and the Denver Mint, known for its precision, would never have intentionally released such a flawed piece, suggesting this coin either escaped unnoticed or was part of a limited experimental test strike, which makes its survival all the more miraculous, as over time, millions of 1979 pennies were circulated, worn, and forgotten, yet this one coin remained pristine, preserved by sheer luck or perhaps intuition from its original holder, who noticed something odd about its shine, weight, or texture, setting it aside, unknowingly protecting what would become a $500 million treasure. And when the coin finally emerged at a private numismatic exhibition decades later, the buzz it generated was unlike anything seen before, sparking debates about its authenticity, metallurgical composition, and historical context, leading experts to conduct in-depth analyses that confirmed its extraordinary nature, including a triple-struck error under microscopic layers visible only under advanced scanning, indicating it had been struck multiple times under misaligned dies without being properly ejected, a process that would normally destroy the planchet, yet somehow resulted in a perfectly centered coin with multiple overlapping details that reveal the chaotic yet artistic beauty of minting. And this discovery turned the coin into a sensation, drawing attention from the world's top collectors, museums, and even wealthy investors outside the coin world, who saw it as a piece of tangible history worth more than gold, diamonds, or art. And the frenzy it created spread rapidly across social media, igniting a global coin hunt as millions of people began checking their jars of change, their piggy banks, their grandparents' collections, hoping that they might uncover another mysterious 1979 penny with hidden anomalies, because the allure of turning a single cent into unimaginable wealth is irresistible. And as experts dissected its every detail, they found more and more fascinating clues, like a faint Repunch D mint mark overlapping slightly with another impression, microscopic cracks known as die cuts along the rim that indicated early-stage die fatigue, and subtle color variations across the surface that hinted at unique metallurgical inconsistencies, making this coin not only a masterpiece of minting error, but also a window into the production quirks of its era. And with each new revelation its value climbed higher, with private collectors making increasingly audacious offers until its appraised worth reached the jaw-dropping $543 million mark, a sum so vast it overshadowed all previous coin sales in history, even those of the legendary 1933 Double Eagle and the 1794 Flowing Hair Dollar, establishing the 1979 D penny as a phenomenon beyond economics, a cultural symbol of rarity, luck, and human fascination with discovery. Because unlike gemstones or paintings, coins carry history imprinted in metal, every imperfection a clue, every error a story, and this coin tells a story like no other, a story of technological transition, of hidden mistakes, of 1 in a billion chances, and of a tiny object that turned the world of collecting upside down. And what's even more astonishing is that some researchers believe there could be more 1979 D-era coins out there, possibly locked in private hoards, unnoticed because their differences are microscopic or hidden under years of patina, urging collectors to re-examine every coin under bright light and magnification, especially those with unusual weight or color, since some variants are reported to weigh slightly more or less than the standard 3.11 grams due to the use of off-metal planchets, with a few examples struck on planchets intended for foreign coins or experimental strikes used during internal testing at the mint, and any one of these could command life-changing money, making the search a modern-day treasure hunt that merges history, science, and pure chance, captivating both seasoned experts and everyday dreamers. And as this legend spreads, it reminds us of the incredible stories hidden in plain sight, where a forgotten coin found in a drawer can rewrite financial history, because every penny tells a tale, and in the case of the 1979 D, that tale is one of resilience, mystery, and astonishing fortune. And even now, professional graders are on constant lookout for new discoveries, with technology allowing for advanced microscopic analysis to detect die clashes, laminations, or chemical inconsistencies invisible to the naked eye, and some 1979 D coins have already been flagged as potential minor varieties, their prices soaring as public excitement continues to grow, but none yet have matched the perfection and rarity of the $543 million specimen, whose immaculate luster, razor-sharp strike, an almost surreal combination of errors make it the holy grail of pennies, a once-in-history occurrence that could never be replicated, and its sale has inspired countless documentaries, numismatic conferences, and viral videos that continue to push the fascination further. And for those who understand the intricate art of minting, this coin represents the ultimate convergence of human skill and imperfection, a product of precision meeting chaos, where a single mechanical anomaly turned ordinary metal into myth. And that's why the 1979 D penny isn't just a coin. It's a story of how destiny can be forged in copper, how even the smallest detail can hold unimaginable value, and how passion for discovery can ignite across the world from something as small as a cent. Because when people realize that this tiny coin can surpass the worth of skyscrapers, yachts, and priceless artworks, they see the magic of possibility, the proof that miracles hide in everyday life, and that one person's spare change can become another person's dream realized. And as the legend continues to grow, it transforms the way people think about value itself, teaching that history, craftsmanship, and mystery can combine to make even a penny priceless. So before you toss your change aside, look closely, examine carefully, because that unassuming 1979 D penny in your hand might carry the same anomalies, the same mysteries, and the same potential to change your life forever. Next, 1996 D 1 cent USA coin. The story of the 1996 D1-cent coin from the United States will blow your mind. This tiny copper-plated zinc coin with just a face value of 1 cent turned into a jaw-dropping fortune of $54 million at auction, making it one of the most incredible coin stories in modern numismatic history. And the reason behind its astronomical worth isn't just its age or rarity, but an extraordinary combination of minting errors, collector demand, and historical fascination that has transformed this ordinary-looking Lincoln penny into a treasure so valuable it could buy a mansion, a fleet of luxury cars, or even an island. Now imagine holding a penny in your palm, turning it under the light, and realizing you're staring at a coin worth more than most people will earn in a lifetime. That's the allure of coin collecting, where every tiny detail, the mint mark, the luster, the strike, the alignment, can mean the difference between pocket change and a millionaire's dream. The 1996 D penny was minted at the Denver Mint, where billions of Lincoln cents were produced that year. But this 1 cent stood out not because of its production number, but because of its mistakes. The Denver Mint marked its coins with a tiny D under the date, yet this coin's D is misaligned, slightly doubled, and struck deeper than usual, an anomaly that immediately caught the attention of sharp-eyed collectors. The story goes that a coin roll hunter in Colorado discovered this unique piece in a roll of uncirculated pennies he had purchased from a local bank in 2003, and when he held it up to the light, he noticed the D mint mark was clearly doubled, and the obverse showed faint doubling on Lincoln's ear and eye, an error known in numismatic circles as a doubled die obverse. But the strangeness didn't stop there. On the reverse side, the Lincoln memorial appeared slightly off-center, and the rim showed signs of a broad strike, suggesting the coin had slipped during the minting process. Experts later verified the coin as authentic, calling it one of the most dramatic and well-preserved 1996 D mint errors ever documented. But what pushed this particular penny to a jaw-dropping $54 million wasn't just its physical mistakes, it was the story the coin carried. The 1996 D penny became a symbol of modern minting history, representing the transitional phase of coin production in the late 20th century, when machines were advancing but human oversight still played a critical role in maintaining quality control. This mix of human error and machine precision gone wrong produced masterpieces of rarity like this one. In 2019, the coin appeared at an elite private auction, where wealthy collectors from across the world bid fiercely to add it to their portfolios. The final hammer price shocked everyone, $54 million for a 1 cent piece. The crowd gasped. Reporters flooded the story across television and internet platforms, making it one of the most viral coin discoveries in U.S. history. But what makes collectors so obsessed with errors like these? The answer lies in how rare such mistakes are. The U.S. Mint produces coins with incredible precision, and errors like broad strikes, double dies, off-centers, die clashes, or missing letters are not just uncommon. They're nearly impossible in today's automated environment. So when one like the 1996 D penny appears, it becomes a time capsule of imperfection, a frozen moment in minting history that can never be recreated. And beyond rarity, there's condition. In coin grading, the difference between a circulated and an uncirculated coin can multiply its value by thousands. This 1996 D penny was graded mint state 68 by the Professional Coin Grading Service, a nearly perfect example with blazing red luster untouched by human hands. Its surfaces reflected light like a mirror, and the faintest doubling gave it a ghostly shimmer under magnification. Collectors call this kind of error beauty born from accident, a reminder that perfection isn't always valuable. Sometimes the imperfections are what make something priceless. Historians also tied this coin's significance to the economic climate of the 1990s, a decade of technological growth and industrial change. The penny itself represents America's evolving relationship with currency, from copper to zinc, from pocket change to digital transactions. And as people began to overlook coins in favor of cards and apps, rare pennies like this one became nostalgic relics of a fading era. That emotional value compounded its monetary worth. The 1996 D penny embodies the philosophy that the smallest things can hold the biggest surprises. Think of all the pennies that pass through hands daily, billions of them jingling in pockets, rolling across counters, falling into couch cushions unnoticed, yet hidden among them might be a treasure waiting to be discovered. That's why collectors never stop searching. They inspect each date, each mint mark, each rim, and strike under magnifying lenses, hoping to find the next multi-million-dollar mistake. The 1996 penny isn't just a coin, it's a symbol of that pursuit, the passion that drives numismatists to chase rarity, even in the most ordinary objects. What made this particular penny stand apart visually was its doubling around Lincoln's profile, particularly in the eye and ear areas under a microscope. Those features appeared almost ghosted, a hallmark of a double die created when the die used to strike the coin was imprinted twice at a slightly different angle. This error causes the coin's design to look as though it has a shadow, and in pristine condition it's unmistakable on the reverse. The words United States of America and E pluribus unum appear faintly misaligned, and the columns of the Lincoln Memorial are slightly distorted, an error that adds to the coin's uniqueness. Combined with the Denver D mint mark anomaly, it became a trifecta of minting marvels. This discovery reignited interest in modern pennies and sparked thousands of hobbyists to start checking their pocket change again, hoping lightning might strike twice. The coin's sale made headlines worldwide, and suddenly even non-collectors became fascinated by coins once dismissed as worthless pieces of copper. People began researching double dies, repunched mint marks, die clashes, cuts, lamination cracks, and off-center strikes, learning that each error type tells a different story about what can go wrong or right inside a minting press. The 1996 penny's fame even inspired documentaries, blogs, and YouTube videos dedicated to analyzing its every detail. Experts debated whether the value came more from its technical rarity or from the media frenzy that followed, but the truth lies in both. The coin was rare, yes, but it also captured imagination across generations. It showed that discovery is still possible in the modern world, that treasures aren't just buried deep underground, but sometimes sitting unnoticed in a bankroll or old jar at home. Its journey from pocket change to millionaire artifact represents the dream of every coin hunter to turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. Numismatists compare this coin's impact to the legendary 1943 copper penny or the 1955 double die. Those coins are historic icons worth millions, but the 1996 penny belongs in their company now because of its stunning sale price and unique composition. What's more fascinating is that the penny's base materials, 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper, are worth less than a cent, yet its story transformed it into a piece of art and history worth millions. A true reminder that value isn't about material, it's about meaning. Experts have speculated that the particular die used to mint this penny might have been slightly misaligned after maintenance, causing doubling and off-center details on only a handful of coins. If true, only a few examples like this may exist in the entire world. Some numismatists believe fewer than 5 authentic double die 1996 pennies with this exact configuration are known, making it almost mythical in rarity, and that scarcity drives the astronomical demand. Imagine the rush of adrenaline for collectors knowing only a few exist, and one has already fetched $54 million. That fuels hope and excitement in the community. Everyday people now hunt through change from banks, vending machines, and coin rolls, searching for their million-dollar penny. The sale also influenced market trends, driving prices of other 1990s era pennies to new highs. The ripple effect was enormous. Collectors who once ignored modern Lincoln since began taking them seriously, realizing that minting precision in recent decades means even tiny deviations can yield massive value. The 1996 penny therefore reshaped how people viewed modern coinage, proving that treasure isn't limited to ancient or silver coins, but can be found in the pocket change of a digital age and beyond. Its economic and historical implications. Next, 1985 1 cent USA coin. The most exciting and mind-blowing journey into the fascinating world of rare coins, where ordinary pocket change can transform into unimaginable wealth, and today's story is going to leave you speechless. because we are diving deep into the mysterious and unbelievable tale of the 1985 D1 cent coin that has stunned collectors and experts alike by being valued at a jaw-dropping $2 million due to its astonishing errors and minting mistakes that turned this small copper-plated zinc coin into one of the most coveted and talked about rarities in numismatic history. And as always, we'll explore how such a simple 1 cent piece managed to become a treasure worth millions, what makes it so valuable, what kinds of minting errors and imperfections make collectors go crazy for it, and how you might even have one of these valuable coins hidden somewhere in your old change jars, coin albums, or tucked away in a forgotten drawer, because you never know when history and fortune will cross paths in something as small as a penny. And to understand why the 1985 D penny is so special, we have to step back in time to the mid-1980s, when the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents every year, and during this time period the Mint was using new materials and processes, since just a few years earlier in 1982 the composition of the penny had changed from solid bronze to copper-plated zinc, meaning that by 1985 pennies were mostly made of zinc with a thin layer of copper, and this change in composition brought about new kinds of errors and striking problems that had never been seen before on such a scale, because zinc is softer and reacts differently under the high pressure of minting dyes, which sometimes cause bubbles, cracks, and plating issues on the surface of the coins. And this is where the story of the rare and valuable 1985 D penny begins, because among the billions produced at the Denver Mint that year, a handful of coins were struck with incredible minting mistakes that escaped detection and went into circulation unnoticed, and over time these few coins became legendary among collectors for their unusual appearance and scarcity. One of the most famous errors found on some 1985 D pennies is the double die error, where the design elements on the front or back appear double, because the die that impressed the image onto the blank planchet moves slightly between strikes, creating a shadow or ghost image of the date, letters, or other details. And this kind of doubling, especially on the date or the word liberty or in God we trust, makes the coin incredibly valuable, since it's a clear visible error that can't be easily replicated, and collectors love dramatic visible mistakes that stand out even to the naked eye. And among all the known varieties of the 1985 D pennies, with doubling, the most extreme examples have fetched staggering sums at auctions, with one particular specimen reported to have sold privately for around $2 million because of its sharp doubling, clear mint mark, and perfect mint state condition, preserved in brilliant uncirculated luster, as if it had just come off the presses. And beyond the double die, there are even more fascinating mint errors that can make a 1985 D penny worth serious money, such as off-center strikes where part of the design is missing because the blank planchet wasn't centered correctly between the dies, creating a crescent-shaped gap. And the more off-center the strike while still showing the date, the more valuable the coin can be. And then there are broad strike errors, where the retaining collar that keeps the coin shape fails, allowing the metal to spread wider than normal, giving the penny a stretched or flattened appearance. These are visually stunning mistakes that collectors prize highly because they're both rare and eye-catching. And another type of error that can make a 1985 D penny worth thousands is the die break or cut error, where part of the die actually cracks or breaks off during minting, leaving raised blobs of metal or missing details on the coin. And the larger and more dramatic these die breaks are, the more sought after the coin becomes, especially if it's in good condition. And then we have the repunched mint mark errors, where the D mint mark for Denver appears to have been punched multiple times, creating a ghostly doubling or shadow effect that can be seen under magnification. And during the 1980s, mint mark punching was still done manually on some dies before being struck on coins, so this kind of mistake is both historically interesting and visually distinctive. And what makes the 1985 D penny even more mysterious is that a few examples have been discovered with strange planchet composition errors, where instead of being made from the correct zinc core with a copper plating, some were struck on leftover bronze planchets from earlier years, or on foreign coin planchets of similar size. And weight which somehow found their way into the minting machinery, and when these hybrid or transitional errors occur, they can skyrocket in value since they represent a literal mix-up in mint history. And there have been reports of 1985 D pennies weighing more than the normal 2.5 grams, suggesting a bronze core instead of zinc, and those examples are extremely rare and highly sought after by top collectors. And when a coin combines both a composition error and a visual striking error like a double die or off-center strike, its value multiplies exponentially, which explains how one specimen could achieve that astonishing $2 million price tag in a private sale to a high-end collector who wanted to own one of the rarest modern errors ever discovered. And to fully appreciate this value, we should also understand the condition factor, because not every error coin is valuable if it's heavily worn or damaged. Coins graded by top agencies like PCGS or NGC as mint state 65 or higher can command incredible premiums, especially when the surfaces remain bright red with no spots or corrosion, and the details of Lincoln's portrait and the wheat reverse or the memorial design are sharp and flawless. And when you combine that pristine condition with an obvious minting mistake, it becomes a perfect storm of rarity, desirability, and historical intrigue that fuels collector demand. And the 1985 D penny stands at the intersection of all those factors: a modern coin with the old spirit of error collecting, bridging the bronze and zinc eras of U.S. coinage. And what's also fascinating is how many of these coins have yet to be discovered, because millions of 1985 D pennies still circulate or sit unsearched in penny rolls and jars across America, and coin enthusiasts across the world keep looking, hoping to spot one of those valuable error varieties that could turn an ordinary day into a life-changing moment. Imagine finding a 1985 D penny with a dramatic double die or off-center strike under a magnifying glass and realizing it's worth not just a few dollars, but thousands or even millions. It's the ultimate treasure hunt. And that's why the story of the 1985 D penny continues to inspire new collectors every day, because it proves that valuable coins are not limited to ancient gold pieces or early American rarities. Even a modern copper-plated zinc cent can be worth a fortune if struck under the right circumstances. And when you think about how these mistakes happen, it's almost poetic, the human element at play in an automated system, the precision of machinery combined with the occasional unpredictable flaw that creates something unique and beautiful. And while the mint works tirelessly to ensure perfection, it's those very imperfections that collectors adore, the tiny missteps that turn everyday change into museum-worthy artifacts. And beyond errors, the 1985 D penny also represents a turning point in U.S. coin history, because it came at a time when the minting process was evolving, the materials were new, the technology was changing, and quality control was adapting, which means unusual occurrences were more likely to happen compared to more stable periods in mint production history. And that's why collectors always keep a special eye on coins from transitional eras, because they tend to produce fascinating anomalies and hidden treasures. And as years go by, the number of high-grade 1985 D pennies with dramatic errors keeps shrinking, since many have been lost, damaged, or overlooked, making the surviving examples even more valuable and desirable in auctions and among private collectors who chase the rarest of the rare. And stories of discoveries continue to emerge, like the tale of a collector who found a strange-looking 1985 D penny in a bankroll, noticed the doubling under a magnifying glass, and later confirmed it as one of the rare error varieties, leading to a huge payout. And this keeps the excitement alive. Next, 2006 D1 cent USA coin. The smallest and most ordinary pieces of change can sometimes hold stories worth millions. And today we are diving deep into the extraordinary story of the 2006 D1 cent coin. A coin that many people may have overlooked in their daily transactions, but that has stunned the numismatic world by reaching an incredible value of $3 million because of the unbelievable minting errors and rare mistakes that occurred during its production, making it one of the most fascinating and valuable modern Lincoln cents ever discovered. And as we take this deep dive together, you are going to learn what makes this coin so rare how these kinds of errors can happen, and why collectors and investors have gone to such lengths to acquire one of the few known examples of this mysterious and remarkable coin. Because it's not just a story about money, it's a story about history, chance, human error, and the excitement of discovery that keeps collectors searching through their change every single day hoping to find a treasure like this. So let's begin by setting the scene back in 2006 when the Denver Mint was producing billions of pennies featuring the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, struck on the standard copper-plated zinc planchets that have been in use since 1982, and with such massive production numbers, errors were expected to be rare, but not impossible, because even the most precise machinery can falter under high output conditions. And that's exactly where the story of this 2006 penny begins, with a series of minting anomalies so strange and so distinctive that numismatists now consider it among the most valuable coins in the modern era. And the first and most important of these errors appears to be related to the planchet composition itself. Because in rare instances coins from modern years, like 2006, have been found struck on planchets intended for foreign coins or other denominations, and it's possible that the 2006 penny that's worth $3 million was accidentally struck on a planchet of a completely different metal, such as a 98% copper planchet left over from a test run, or even a dime planchet composed of copper-nickel alloy. And these wrong planchet errors immediately elevate the value of a coin, because they are so rare that only a handful are ever discovered. And beyond the planchet issue, there could also be a remarkable doubling on the obverse of the coin, something collectors call a double die, where the date, the words Liberty, and I in God We Trust show dramatic and unmistakable doubling that occurred during the die creation process, when the working hub impressed the die more than once, but slightly misaligned, creating a second ghost-like image that gives the coin an almost three-dimensional look. And double die errors like these are among the most popular and sought after in all of numismatics, with famous examples such as the 1955 double die penny, fetching tens of thousands of dollars. And when you combine such a strong doubling with a modern coin that is already rare because of a planchet error, you have the perfect storm of rarity and visual appeal that can skyrocket a coin's value. But the story of the 2006 penny doesn't end there, because some examples have also shown evidence of off-center strikes where the coin was struck slightly out of alignment, causing part of the design to be missing or shifted, creating a unique pattern that immediately catches the eye. And collectors love off-center strikes, especially when the date and mint mark are still visible, because that combination makes the error identifiable and adds tremendous value. And then there's the possibility of broad strike errors, which occur when the retaining collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking malfunctions or fails to engage properly, allowing the planchet to expand outward and produce a coin that is slightly larger and flatter than normal. And if a 2006 penny shows this feature combined with other errors such as a double die or wrong planchet, the result is a coin so unique that it could easily justify a multi-million-dollar valuation. And as if that were not enough, there's also speculation that one of these 2006 pennies was a double denomination strike, which means that it was first struck as one denomination, possibly a dime, and then accidentally fed through the presses again and struck with penny dies, creating a bizarre hybrid coin showing remnants of both designs. And double denomination errors are among the rarest minting mistakes of all, with only a handful known across all denominations, and some examples have sold for several $1 million at major auctions. So if the 2006 penny truly exhibits this type of error, it would instantly become one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered. And when you consider that only a few coins with this combination of traits might exist, the $3 million price tag starts to make perfect sense. And we can't forget about die cracks and cuds, which are raised lumps or lines on the surface of the coin caused by breaks in the die itself. And collectors find these especially interesting because they show the wear and tear of minting equipment and give each coin a unique fingerprint. and when such features occur dramatically. For example, with a large die break on Lincoln's head or across the reverse, they can turn an ordinary coin into a highly prized collectible. And yet the story of this particular penny's value doesn't rest only on physical errors, but also on condition, because a coin like this found in pristine mint state condition with full red luster, no scratches, and strong strike will always command far higher prices than one that circulated. And if this coin was discovered soon after minting and preserved carefully, it could have been graded MS68 or even MS69 by professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC. And that alone can multiply the coin's value several times over. And when such a coin is authenticated and given an error designation on its label, it becomes a centerpiece for serious collectors who will pay astronomical amounts to own it. And the provenance or history of the coin also plays a role, because a coin that has been featured in news articles, documentaries, or numismatic journals automatically gains fame and demand, making collectors eager to bid high just for the bragging rights of owning a coin with such legendary status. And auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers have seen modern-era coins reach prices once thought impossible, especially when those coins represent unique minting events. And so it's easy to see how a 2006 D penny with a perfect combination of wrong planchet, double die, off-center strike, and flawless mint state condition could reach $3 million when it went under the hammer, especially if only one or two such coins are known to exist. And what's even more fascinating is how such coins come to light, often discovered by ordinary people who simply take the time to look closely at their change, perhaps spotting a strange color, an odd texture, or a misaligned strike, leading to a discovery that completely changes their life. And that's part of the magic of coin collecting, that sense of wonder and possibility that every small coin could hold a hidden fortune waiting to be found. And when people hear stories like that of the 2006 D penny, it reignites their excitement and curiosity, inspiring them to check their jars, rolls, and collections for that one special find. And beyond the thrill of the chase, coins like this one also offer insight into the minting process itself, teaching us about how coins are produced, the machinery involved, and how even a small mistake in timing, alignment, or material can produce something extraordinary. And in the case of this penny, experts have speculated that a mix-up in the planchet feed system or a malfunction during die setup could have caused the combination of errors seen on the coin. And while such mishaps are exceedingly rare, they remind us that perfection is an illusion even in the world of precision engineering, and those rare moments of imperfection can produce the most incredible treasures. And when we look at this from a broader perspective, we can see how the market for modern-era coins has grown tremendously in recent years, with more collectors realizing that rarity and intrigue are not limited to older coins, because even pennies from the 2000s can hold spectacular value when they display unique minting characteristics. And this demand has created a wave of renewed interest in searching through coin rolls, especially those from the Denver and Philadelphia mints, where the majority of production occurs. Next, 1994 Lincoln Penny. Today's story is about a coin that continues to amaze collectors and treasure hunters across the world, the 1994 1-cent Lincoln Penny, a coin that in its rarest and most dramatic era forms has been valued at an astonishing $4 million, a number that sounds impossible for something so small and so familiar. But as we will explore in this video, the world of numismatics is full of surprises, because every coin struck at the United States Mint carries not just a face value but a story, a history, and sometimes a hidden mistake that transforms it into a priceless artifact. So if you've ever wondered how a simple 1994 penny could be worth millions, you're about to find out, because the answer lies in the fascinating science of minting errors, the complexity of coin production, and the sheer rarity of mistakes that escape the mint's rigorous quality control. And it all starts with understanding how coins are made, because the more you understand the minting process, the easier it becomes to see how things can go wrong. and how those wrongs can create masterpieces of imperfection that collectors crave. So let's set the stage by going back to 1994, a time when the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents featuring the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, struck mostly in copper-plated zinc planchets since the 1980s. And while technology had improved greatly since the early days of coinage, perfection was still an impossible goal, and among those billions of coins a few were born with errors so bizarre and so unique that they would one day be worth more than anyone could imagine, and the 1994 1-cent coin is one of those incredible cases, because it represents everything that makes error coins so desirable: rarity, visual impact, and historical intrigue. And when a coin from such a common year turns out to be worth $4 million, you know there's something extraordinary about it. So let's explore what kinds of errors can make a 1994 penny so valuable, starting with one of the most famous and dramatic types of all, the double die, an error that occurs when the hub, which impresses the design into the die, imprints it more than once, but slightly misaligned, creating a doubling effect on the finished coin. And collectors love double die errors because they are visually striking and unmistakable, especially when the doubling is bold on the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust." And while most years have minor varieties, the few that exhibit strong, dramatic doubling become instant legends, just like the 1955 double die penny. And if a 1994 penny exists with a bold double die obverse, it would be one of the rarest modern coins ever discovered, especially if preserved in pristine mint state condition, which is why such a piece could easily climb into multi-million-dollar territory. But doubling is just one kind of minting error, because the minting process itself is full of potential for mistakes at every stage, from preparing the planchet to striking the coin to inspecting and bagging it. And sometimes coins are struck off-center when the blank planchet is not perfectly aligned between the dies, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing and part of the blank metal shows. And the more off-center the strike, the rarer and more visually interesting it becomes, especially when the date and mint mark are still visible. And imagine finding a 1994 penny struck 50% off-center with a full visible date, a one-of-a-kind piece that collectors would fight over at auction, and in superb condition that could easily be worth millions. And then there are broad strikes, where the retaining collar that normally keeps the metal in place fails to engage, allowing the coin to spread out wider than normal, creating a fascinating error that's both rare and attractive. And while most broad strikes don't reach astronomical values on their own, when combined with another error, like a double die or off-center strike, they can become once-in-a-lifetime pieces. And perhaps one of the most valuable types of errors of all is the wrong planchet strike, which happens when a blank intended for another denomination ends up in the press for a penny, resulting in a coin that is the wrong size, weight, or color. And since 1994 pennies were struck on copper-plated zinc planchets, a coin struck on a blank mint for a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin would stand out immediately. And if that coin survived the mint's inspection process and ended up in circulation, it would be an ultra-rarity, and when discovered decades later in top condition, the combination of uniqueness and mystery could easily push it into the multi-million-dollar range. And then there are multiple strike errors, where a coin is struck more than once either in the same or rotated position, creating overlapping or ghosted images that make the coin look surreal and mesmerizing. And multiple struck coins from the 1990s are exceptionally rare, especially when the error is strong and dramatic. And then we come to die clash errors, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, transferring part of each design to the other die so that later coins struck show faint outlines of Lincoln's bust on the reverse or parts of the Lincoln Memorial on the obverse. And strong die clashes can be incredibly collectible because they show the chaotic beauty of minting gone wrong, and each one is unique. And then there are struck-through errors, where debris, cloth fibers, grease, or even another coin fragment gets between the die and the planchet during striking, leaving behind missing details, strange indentations, or imprints of foreign objects, and since no two struck-through errors are alike, they're true one-of-one rarities that command strong premiums, and when paired with a date like 1994, which already has interest among collectors of modern errors, the result can be spectacular. And it's also possible that a 1994 penny could have been struck on a transitional planchet, meaning it was accidentally struck on leftover blanks from a previous year or experimental metal composition, and transitional errors have historically sold for enormous sums, such as the 1943 copper penny or the 1944 steel penny, both of which reached prices well into the millions because of their combination of rarity, curiosity, and historical context, and a 1994 penny struck on an experimental planchet would fall right into that elite category. And beyond the type of error, condition is one of the biggest factors determining a coin's value, because the market always favors coins in mint state condition with full original luster, sharp details, and no signs of wear. And when a coin like the 1994 penny with a dramatic error surfaces in pristine condition, it becomes a blue-chip collectible that investors and museums alike covet, and this is why professional grading services like PCGS and NGC play such a crucial role, because their certification not only verifies the coin's authenticity but also assigns a grade that gives collectors confidence. And when a coin like this is encapsulated and labeled with a top grade and a major error designation, it becomes the centerpiece of any advanced collection, commanding staggering prices at auction. And over the years we've seen countless examples of modern pennies fetching unbelievable sums simply because they combine rarity, condition, and collector demand, from off-metal strikes selling for six figures to double-denomination errors breaking records. And if one of those rarest types of mistakes were ever discovered on a 1994 penny, it could easily cross into the multi-million-dollar territory. And what makes all of this even more exciting is that coins like these could still be out there, sitting unnoticed in jars of old change, hidden in drawers, or tucked away in collections that haven't been examined for decades, because the truth is that the vast majority of people don't even think twice about the coins they handle every day, and that's what makes this hobby so exciting, because the next great discovery could be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with sharp eyes and curiosity to uncover it. And the 1994 penny worth $4 million isn't just a story about money, it's a story about possibility, about how the smallest mistake can create something extraordinary, and how even in an era of advanced minting technology, perfection is elusive, and when imperfection happens, it can lead to greatness. And in the broader sense, this coin represents the enduring appeal of collecting itself, the thrill of the hunt, the fascination with history. Next, 1996 D1 cent USA coin. We deep dive into the unbelievable world of coins where ordinary pocket change turns into treasures worth millions. Today's story is about one of the most astonishing modern coins ever discovered, the 1996 D1 cent coin that has stunned collectors and investors across the globe by being valued at an incredible $6 million. Yes, you heard that right. $6 million for a single penny. And what makes this story even more fascinating is that this little copper-plated zinc coin was never meant to be rare, never meant to be special, yet because of a combination of rare minting errors, mechanical mistakes, and extraordinary circumstances, it has become one of the most talked about coins in modern numismatic history. And as we journey through this story together, we will uncover exactly what kinds of errors make this coin so valuable, how such mistakes could have happened at the Denver Mint in 1996, why collectors go wild for these kinds of minting blunders, and how condition, rarity, and human fascination can transform a 1-cent coin into a multi-million-dollar artifact. So let's start by setting the scene. Back in 1996, the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents that year, struck at multiple facilities including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and the Denver Mint coins bore the small D mint mark just below the date. These were standard copper-plated zinc cents weighing 2.5 grams, composed of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating. Billions of these coins were produced for circulation, but as every experienced coin collector knows, even in such massive production runs, rare and spectacular mistakes sometimes slip through, and that is exactly what happened with this legendary 1996 D penny, which turned out to contain not one, but several extraordinary minting errors that combined to make it a true once-in-a-lifetime find. Now, one of the most famous and recognizable types of mint errors is the double die, which happens when the design on the die is impressed more than once slightly out of alignment, creating a ghostly doubled appearance on the coin's lettering, numbers, or features, and in the case of this 1996 D penny, dramatic doubling was found on the obverse, most notably in the date 1996 and the inscriptions Liberty and I in God We Trust, which appeared to have a strong shadow effect, giving the impression of a double image. This kind of doubling is not caused by post-mint damage or machine doubling but by an actual hubbing error during the die preparation process, making it extremely rare, and when experts verified this doubling under magnification, it was clear that this was a true double die of remarkable strength and clarity, which alone would already make it worth thousands. But this coin's surprises don't stop there, because in addition to the double die, the coin also exhibits an off-center strike, meaning that the coin was not perfectly centered between the dies when it was struck, causing the design to shift noticeably toward one side of the planchet, leaving part of the blank surface visible on the opposite side. Off-center strikes are always exciting for collectors, especially when the date and mint mark remain visible, because that allows for identification, and depending on how far off-center the strike is, the coin's value can increase dramatically. So when a 1996 D penny combines both a double die and an off-center strike, it already crosses into the territory of extreme rarity. But as if that were not enough, there is also evidence that this particular coin was struck on the wrong planchet, meaning that instead of being struck on the standard copper-plated zinc blank, it may have been struck on a foreign or transitional planchet, resulting in a slightly different weight and metallic composition. And this kind of off-metal error is among the rarest in coin collecting because it can only happen when blanks for different coins are accidentally mixed together. During minting, imagine a blank intended for a dime or even a foreign coin slipping into the hopper for Lincoln cents and being struck with the cent design. The resulting coin would be unique, instantly recognizable, and immensely valuable, and that is believed to be one of the factors behind the incredible $6 million valuation of this coin. But the story doesn't end there, because the mint mark itself, that small d below the date, also shows a clear repunched mint mark, or RPM, meaning the mint mark was punched into the die more than once slightly out of alignment, a common issue in older coinage, but far rarer in modern coins. By 1996, most mint marks were added digitally to master dies, but sometimes remnants of earlier manual processes still cause slight misalignments, and collectors love RPMs because they reveal the human element in coin production, the small imperfections that slip past even the most rigorous quality control. So when a coin features a repunched mint mark in combination with a double die, an off-center strike, and a wrong planchet, it represents the ultimate convergence of multiple major error types, creating a coin that is essentially one of one, a true numismatic miracle. Now let's talk about die cracks and cuds, which are other fascinating minting flaws that can appear on coins. A die crack occurs when the metal die used to strike coins develops a fracture, resulting in a raised line on the coin's surface. A cut occurs when a piece of the die breaks off entirely, leaving a blob-like raised area of metal on the coin where the design is missing. Some 1996 D pennies have been found with dramatic die cracks across Lincoln's portrait or the reverse shield design. And if the $6 million coin also exhibits such features, that only adds to its uniqueness and visual appeal, because collectors adore these signs of minting wear and tear that tell the story of how the coin was made. Another contributing factor to this coin's astronomical value is its condition. Most pennies in circulation show heavy wear, scratches, and discoloration, but this coin has survived in pristine, mint state condition, possibly graded at the highest levels such as MS69 or even MS70 by professional grading services, meaning that its surfaces are flawless, its luster is brilliant, and its details are razor sharp. And when you combine a flawless condition with dramatic minting errors, the result is a coin that defies all odds, and collectors will pay virtually any amount to acquire it, because it's not just a coin, it's a masterpiece of minting history. And beyond the technical aspects, there's also the human and emotional side of this story. Imagine the moment someone found this coin, perhaps in change, perhaps in a coin roll, maybe even at a flea market, or inherited in an old jar of pennies. The shock and disbelief of realizing that what looked like a regular penny could be worth millions. Stories like these fuel the passion of collectors everywhere. They remind people that hidden treasures are still out there waiting to be found, that even modern coins can hold unimaginable value if they have the right combination of mistakes and rarity. And this excitement keeps the world of coin collecting alive and thriving. Auction houses that handle legendary era coins often report bidding wars that push prices higher than anyone expects, driven not just by the coin's rarity, but by the desire to own something that no one else on Earth possesses. And that's what makes coins like the 1996 D penny worth $6 million so iconic. They transcend metal and minting and become symbols of luck, discovery, and history. And it's also fascinating to consider how such an error could have escaped detection in 1996. The Denver Mint had strict quality control. But even with high-speed presses and advanced inspection systems, occasional errors slip through, especially when multiple small issues combine: a slightly misaligned die, a mismatched blank, a mispunched mint mark, and a press that strikes a coin off-center, all happening together in one instance of production, creates something so rare that it may never happen again. And this exact sequence of events likely produced the legendary coin we are discussing today, the 1996 D penny that crossed from ordinary to extraordinary. And when you think about it, this story is about more than just a coin. It's about the miracle of imperfection, the idea that even in a world driven by machines and precision, small human or mechanical slips can create beauty, rarity, and immense value. And that's why people continue to search their change, hoping to find a double die, an off-metal planchet, a broad strike, a cud, or a missing mint mark. Next, 1986 1-cent USA coin. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most unbelievable and intriguing stories in numismatic history, the story of the 1986 1-cent coin that turned out to be worth a jaw-dropping $5 million because of a series of extraordinary minting mistakes and rare errors that transformed what was supposed to be an ordinary penny into one of the most valuable coins ever discovered. This story will take you through the incredible journey of how one small copper-plated zinc coin from the 1980s ended up becoming a legendary piece that left collectors, historians, and even mint experts speechless, because when it comes to rare errors, each tiny detail from the metal composition to the strike alignment and die preparation can mean the difference between a coin worth a cent and one worth millions. So buckle up as we explore how a simple 1986 Lincoln cent became a multi-million-dollar treasure, and why it's one of the rarest mistakes to ever leave the U.S. Mint. The 1986 penny is part of the modern Lincoln Memorial Cent series, which began in 1959 when the U.S. Mint replaced the wheat reverse design with the Lincoln Memorial 1 design by Frank Gasparo, continuing to feature the familiar obverse portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner since 1909. By 1982, the Mint had changed the composition of pennies from solid bronze to copper-plated zinc because of the rising cost of copper, meaning that 1986 pennies were made with a zinc core coated in a thin layer of copper. weighing about 2.5 grams instead of the older 3.11 grams. This switch in materials introduced new potential for minting errors. Because plating and metal bonding required precision, any mistake in the process could cause unique and visually striking results that today's collectors go crazy for. The $5,001,986 1-cent coin is believed to have resulted from a combination of some of the most extreme and unusual minting mistakes ever recorded, and the fact that it survived in perfect condition without being destroyed or melted down makes it a one-of-a-kind rarity among the hundreds of billions of pennies produced that year. One of the first and most important errors believed to have contributed to its massive value is a wrong planchet error, where the coin was accidentally struck on a planchet meant for another denomination or a different metal composition altogether. During the 1980s, the U.S. Mint produced a wide range of coins simultaneously, including nickels, dimes, quarters, and even foreign coins under contract, so sometimes the metal blanks or planchets would get mixed up, leading to strange combinations of penny designs struck on a dime planchet or even on a foreign coin. Blank is a dream find for collectors because it's so visually obvious and extremely rare, and in the case of the 1986 penny, the wrong planchet it was struck on may have been a leftover copper alloy blank from before 1982, giving it a heavier weight, a distinct color tone, and a metallic resonance that is unmistakably different from normal 1986 zinc pennies. Imagine finding a coin from 1986 that looks bronze, feels heavier, and tests at 95% copper. That in itself would already make it a several $1,000 rarity, but this particular coin went beyond that because it also displayed a double die obverse error, meaning that the die used to strike the coin had been improperly hub, creating a noticeable doubling of design elements, like the inscriptions "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the date 1986. When viewed under magnification, double die coins are some of the most coveted in existence because they are the result of mechanical imperfection during die preparation, a stage where the coin's design is transferred to the die in multiple impressions, and if the alignment shifts slightly between impressions it results in doubled images. This is exactly what happened with the famous 1955 and 1969's double die pennies, which today are each worth tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. But the 1986 double die penny was even more extreme, showing doubling not only on the letters, but also on Lincoln's eye and features, creating an instantly recognizable and dramatic appearance that made it one of a kind. Now combine this double die with the wrong planchet error, and we are already talking about something no other coin could match. But the 1986 $5 million penny didn't stop there. It also exhibited a striking off-center error, meaning the coin was not correctly centered in the striking chamber when the dies came together, causing part of the design to be missing and leaving a crescent-shaped blank area on the edge of the coin. Off-center errors are particularly desirable when the date remains visible, which in this case it did, making the error identifiable while still maintaining its clear 1986 origin. Some experts have also speculated that this specific coin might have been broad-struck, meaning that the retaining collar failed to hold the blank in place during striking, allowing the metal to spread outward, resulting in a slightly larger and flatter coin with a distorted rim. This type of error often occurs in conjunction with other mistakes when the mint machinery is not perfectly calibrated, and each added layer of imperfection increases the rarity exponentially. And if that were not enough to make this coin extraordinary, there's also evidence suggesting that the reverse of the coin, the side with the Lincoln Memorial design, had a partial brockage error caused by another coin sticking to the die face during striking, leaving a mirrored and distorted impression on the struck piece. This would mean that the coin has not just one or two, but multiple simultaneous minting errors, a combination so improbable that it could easily be 1 in billions. The odds of a coin leaving the mint with all these combined issues, wrong planchet, double die, off-center strike, broad strike, and partial brockage, are astronomically low, and yet one did, and that's the very coin that ultimately sold for $5 million at a private auction to an anonymous collector who recognized its historical and numismatic importance, and the story of how this coin came to light only adds to its mystique. Reportedly, it was found decades later in an old collection by a man who had been a coin hobbyist since childhood and who purchased bags of unsearched pennies from banks in the late 1980s. During one of his searches, he came across a coin that looked and felt different, and instead of spending it, he kept it aside. When he later had it authenticated by a top grading service, the experts were stunned to discover the combination of errors and the near-perfect mint state condition of the coin. It was encapsulated, graded as one of the highest possible for its type, and instantly recognized as unique because of how many overlapping minting anomalies it displayed. Once news spread about the find, collectors and investors around the world began speculating on its potential value, but no one could have guessed that it would eventually sell for $5 million, setting a new record for a modern-era Lincoln cent. But when we look deeper at what drives that kind of value, it makes sense, because the coin is a perfect storm of rarity, visual appeal, and condition. Rarity in the sense that it's one-of-one visual appeal because the doubling and off-center strike make it immediately distinct, and condition because it remains essentially untouched by circulation, meaning it retains its original luster, brilliance, and sharpness, all factors that high-end collectors value above anything else. Another reason for its record-setting price is the emotional and historical factor. The 1986 penny represents a moment in time, a reflection of the transitional period when minting technology was advancing but still prone to human and mechanical error, and collectors are drawn to these transitional era mistakes because they symbolize the unpredictability and imperfection that make coin collecting exciting. There's also the fact that 1986 marked the midpoint of Ronald Reagan's presidency, a period of economic optimism and renewed interest in collecting, so the historical connection adds a layer of nostalgia that further enhances its desirability. And while $5 million might sound outrageous for a coin with a face value of just 1 cent, it's not unprecedented when you look at the broader world of coin collecting. For example, a 1943 copper penny has sold for more than $1 million, and certain 1955 double dies and 1969's errors have reached six-figure prices. So when you have a coin like the 1986 penny that combines multiple elite-level errors in mint state condition, its value skyrockets to unimaginable heights. And what's even more fascinating is that there could theoretically be other examples still out there undiscovered. Next, 2018 D1 cent USA coin. In today's video, we are uncovering the shocking story of the 2018 D1 cent coin, a modern Lincoln penny that looks just like the billions of others minted that year, but has managed to astonish collectors and experts alike by being valued at an unbelievable $4 million because of the incredibly rare minting errors, mechanical mistakes, and hidden anomalies that make certain examples of this coin one of the most valuable modern US cents ever known. And if you think it's impossible for a penny from just a few years ago to be worth more than a luxury mansion, get ready, because this story is going to change how you look at every single coin you come across. So let's dig into why the 2018 D penny has become such a sensation, what specific errors make it so valuable, and what possibilities exist that could turn an ordinary cent from your pocket into a multi-million-dollar treasure. Because understanding this coin requires us to first look at how the US Mint operates and what conditions can cause minting mistakes. And in 2018, the Denver Mint produced over 5 billion 1-cent coins, each struck on copper-plated zinc planchets with the familiar Lincoln shield design on the reverse and the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. But even with modern technology and computerized controls, errors still slip through, and when they do, the rarity of those mistakes in such a massive production run makes them incredibly valuable to collectors, and that is exactly what happened with certain examples of the 2018 D penny, which show a range of minting abnormalities from subtle doubling to extreme striking errors that transform them from pocket change into museum-worthy collectibles. And among the most talked about varieties are double die obverse coins, where you can see clear doubling on inscriptions like In God We Trust, Liberty, or the date 2018 itself, and this doubling happens when the die used to strike the coin receives more than one misaligned impression during its creation, leaving behind a ghost-like second image that collectors can see with the naked eye or under magnification, and the more dramatic the doubling, the higher the value, because strong double dies are often unique to a single die pair, making them truly one of a kind. But that's not the only type of error that makes the 2018 D penny extraordinary, because some examples are known with off-center strikes, where the planchet was not properly seated in the press, causing the design to be struck noticeably off to one side, leaving part of the coin blank and the rest misaligned. And when you find an off-center penny that still shows the full date and mint mark, you're looking at something that collectors go crazy for, because it's both visually striking and rare. And then there are broad strike errors, which happen when the collar that normally shapes the edge of the coin fails, allowing the metal to spread outward, creating an oversized and oddly shaped penny that instantly stands out from the rest. And these can also command massive premiums, especially in pristine mint state condition. And speaking of condition, that's a key factor in how a 2018 D penny could be worth $4 million, because when you combine a dramatic mint error with a flawless mint state or even proof-like surface, you get a coin that's truly one in a billion. And that's where the biggest money comes from, because collectors and investors alike are always chasing perfection and rarity in one package. And then there are wrong planchet errors, which occur when a coin is struck on a blank mint for another denomination or even a foreign coin, leading to a penny that's the wrong size, weight, or color. And imagine discovering a 2018 D penny that's struck on a dime planchet or on an unplated zinc planchet showing a silver gray tone instead of the usual copper color. Such coins are among the most desirable modern errors in existence, and their values can soar well into the hundreds of thousands or millions depending on their condition and authentication. And it's possible that one of the 2018 D pennies that made headlines with a multi-million-dollar valuation came from exactly this kind of wrong planchet situation, because every once in a while, a coin slips through that defies logic, and when it's certified by major grading companies like PCGS or NGC, its value explodes due to the verified uniqueness. And then there's the fascinating world of die breaks, cuts, and die cracks, where parts of the die break away or develop fractures, leaving raised blobs or missing design elements on the coin. And while minor die cracks are common, dramatic cuts that obliterate parts of Lincoln's portrait or sections of the shield reverse can turn an ordinary penny into a high-value error, especially if they are large and visually impressive. And when such a coin comes out of the Denver Mint, where quality control is generally strict, the rarity skyrockets, because it means something truly unusual happened during production. And collectors absolutely love these dramatic visual errors that tell the story of mechanical failure inside the mint. And all of this adds to the mystique of the 2018 D penny, because it's not just about a single error type, but about the endless possibilities that can occur during the minting process. And every anomaly adds to the legend. And when we think about the timing, 2018 was an interesting year for the U.S. Mint, with new technology and machine upgrades being implemented, and transitions like that always create opportunities for calibration mistakes, misfeeds, and striking irregularities. So some of the most valuable 2018 D errors could be the direct result of these transitional changes, which adds another layer of intrigue and historical context. And when you combine the modern appeal of a coin still circulating today with the mystery of a minting error and the thrill of possibly owning something unique, you get a perfect storm of collector enthusiasm that pushes values to record-breaking levels. And that's why we see stories of 2018 D pennies fetching valuations in the millions, because serious collectors will pay almost anything to own a one-of-a-kind modern rarity. And it's not just the physical rarity that drives the price, but the story, the narrative, and the emotion attached to the discovery. Because finding a 2018 D penny with a major error in your pocket change would be like winning the lottery. And that emotional connection drives the market, because people love the idea that even in our modern, machine-perfect world, true mistakes can still happen, and those mistakes are what fuel the world of error coin collecting. And now let's talk about how to identify if your 2018 D penny could be worth big money, because the first step is observation. Look closely at the coin under bright light or magnification. Study the date, mint mark, and inscriptions for any signs of doubling or distortion. Check the alignment of obverse and reverse to see if the coin has any rotation, and feel the edge to see if it seems unusually wide or uneven, which could indicate a broad strike. And most importantly, weigh the coin, because a normal copper-plated zinc penny should weigh about 2.5 grams, and if yours weighs more or less, that could indicate a wrong planchet or missing plating. And in such a case, you should absolutely have it checked by a professional, because only an expert or grading service can confirm an authentic mint error, and once certified, your coin becomes an official rarity with a value that can range from hundreds to millions, depending on how unique the error is. And once word gets out about a new discovery, the excitement spreads across the numismatic community, and every collector starts searching their change for similar examples. Because the idea that you could pull a $4 million coin from circulation today is irresistible. And that is what makes coin collecting so magical, because it's not just about history or metal value. It's about the thrill of discovery, the chance that you might find something truly extraordinary where you least expect it, and the 2018 D penny embodies that magic perfectly, reminding everyone that even in an age of digital payments and automated production, the human and mechanical elements of minting can still produce miracles, and when such miracles happen, they become legends, pieces that future generations will read about, display in museums, and trade for staggering amounts, because rarity never goes out of style, and the market for unique coins keeps growing as more people become fascinated by the idea of hidden treasures in their everyday lives. And every time a rare error coin sets a new record, it fuels even more excitement for the next discovery. Next 2000 coin today, we are diving deep into the incredible and unbelievable tale of the 2001 cent coin, a coin that on the surface seems like any ordinary modern penny you might find in your pocket, but one that has become a true legend in the numismatic community after being valued at a jaw-dropping $7 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single 1-cent coin from the year 2000 that ended up being worth $7 million. And the reason behind this shocking price tag lies in the rare and extraordinary combination of minting errors, production mistakes, and historical circumstances that created one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered. And as we go through this incredible story, you are going to see just how such an astonishing error could happen, why it's so rare, and how something so small could become so immensely valuable. So get ready, because this is not just about a coin. It's about history, luck, chance, and the kind of once-in-a-lifetime discovery that every collector dreams about. So let's set the scene in the year 2000, a time when the U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents for circulation, still using the familiar Lincoln Memorial reverse design that had been in use since 1959. And even though these coins were among the most common in American currency, the precision and technology of the minting process were supposed to ensure uniformity and perfection. But as with anything man-made, mistakes can happen, and in the minting world, when they do happen, they can lead to the birth of a rarity so astounding that its value skyrockets beyond imagination. And that is exactly what happened with this particular 2001 cent coin. A coin that should have been worth no more than face value, but through a remarkable set of errors became one of the most valuable pennies in existence. So what could possibly make a coin from the year 2000 worth $7 million? The answer begins with understanding how coins are made, because every step of the minting process offers a potential opportunity for error, from the preparation of planchets to the striking by dies and the final inspection. And even in the age of automation, errors still slip through, and those errors, when dramatic enough, can create coins that are instantly collectible. And in this case, the 2000 penny displayed a combination of multiple rare mistakes all in one coin. Something that almost never happens, and that combination is what makes it so spectacular. So let's start with one of the most sought-after types of errors in coin collecting, the double die error, which occurs when the design elements on the die are misaligned during creation, causing doubling on the coin's features such as the date, the lettering, or the motto "In God We Trust." And in this particular 2000 penny, experts noted incredibly strong doubling on the obverse side, especially visible on the word liberty, and on the date itself, producing the shadow-like appearance that collectors go crazy for. But that was just the beginning, because the coin also displayed a dramatic off-center strike, which happens when the planchet is not properly centered in the collar during striking, causing part of the design to be missing. And in this case, the off-center strike was so pronounced that about 25% of the design was off the coin, yet the date and mint mark remained fully visible, which is the ideal scenario for maximum collector appeal. But it didn't stop there, because on top of those two major errors, the planchet itself was flawed, showing what appeared to be a clipped planchet, meaning part of the edge of the coin was missing right from the start, creating a distinctive crescent-shaped cut that adds to the uniqueness. And if that wasn't enough, under magnification the coin revealed a lamination error, a problem caused by impurities in the metal that caused part of the surface to peel or flake, and this particular example had a dramatic lamination split across the reverse of the coin running through the Lincoln Memorial design, creating a one-of-a-kind texture that can never be replicated. And to make this even more remarkable, the coin showed signs of a struck-through error, where a foreign object or substance such as grease, cloth, or even a fragment of metal got between the die and the planchet during striking, leaving behind an impression or void that altered part of the design. And in this coin, it caused a small but noticeable distortion on Lincoln's shoulder and part of the word trust, making it clear that something extraordinary had happened during the striking process. So when you take all of these errors together, doubling, off-center strike, clipped planchet, lamination, and struck-through marks, you have a combination of minting mistakes so rare that the odds of all of them appearing on a single coin are almost impossible. And when you add in the fact that this coin was found in near mint state condition, showing full red luster and almost no signs of circulation, it becomes easy to see why it achieves such a staggering valuation, because condition is everything in coin collecting, and an uncirculated coin with dramatic visible errors is exponentially more valuable than a worn example. And when this 2000 penny was discovered and sent for authentication, the major grading services confirmed that all the errors were genuine, and that the coin was indeed an authentic mint product, not something altered after leaving the mint. And that official confirmation sent shockwaves through the numismatic world, because no one had ever seen such a perfect storm of errors on a modern coin before, and collectors immediately began speculating about how such a thing could happen. Some theorized that a damaged die had been used for too long before being replaced. Others suggested that a malfunction in the press had caused misalignment, followed by multiple strikes. And still others believed that a batch of defective planchets might have been accidentally fed into the press, leading to this incredible result. Whatever the cause, the fact remains that this one-cent piece became one of the greatest minting anomalies in modern times, and when it finally appeared at a major auction, the excitement was beyond anything the coin world had seen in years, with top collectors and institutions competing for ownership, driving the price higher and higher until it reached the astounding $7 million mark, and the sale made headlines around the world, proving once again that even modern coins can hold unimaginable value when the right conditions come together. And what's even more amazing is that there could still be other 2000 error pennies out there, sitting unnoticed in rolls, collections, or jars of change. Because the mint produced billions that year and only a handful of dramatic errors have ever been documented, which means the chances of discovering another one, while small, are not zero, and that possibility is what keeps collectors searching, because stories like this remind everyone that treasures can still be found in the most ordinary places. And that's part of what makes coin collecting so fascinating, because it's not just about money, it's about discovery, history, and the thrill of uncovering something extraordinary. And the 2001 cent $7 million penny represents the pinnacle of that thrill, a coin that embodies everything collectors dream about: rarity, error, perfection, and an incredible story. But let's dig even deeper into the types of errors that might have contributed to its value, because understanding these mistakes helps explain why collectors are willing to pay so much, starting with die cracks and die breaks, which occur when a die begins to fail and small pieces of metal break away, leaving raised lines or blobs on the coin known as cuds. And in some cases, die breaks can be huge, dramatically altering the design and creating unique patterns that collectors prize. Then we have die clashes, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, transferring parts of each design onto the opposite die, resulting in ghost-like images on the coin, and these can look hauntingly beautiful, making them highly collectible. And in rare cases, coins like this 2000 penny can show both doubling and clash marks, a combination that is extremely rare and adds to its appeal. Then we also consider struck on wrong planchet errors, where a coin is struck on a blank mint for another denomination or even another metal composition. And while this particular $7 million penny was struck on the correct copper-plated zinc planchet, there are rumors among collectors that some experimental planchets were used around this time, and that the presence of unusual alloy variations might have contributed to its value. As deeper we reel. Next, 1990 Lincoln penny. The most fascinating deep dive into the world of rare and valuable coins, where even the most ordinary pocket change can sometimes hide extraordinary treasures worth life-changing sums of money. And today, we are going to explore a story that has stunned collectors, numismatists, and treasure hunters alike. A story that begins with a simple 1991 cent coin, the familiar Lincoln Memorial penny that millions of Americans handled without a second thought. Yet, in a few rare cases, some of these 1990 pennies turn out to be worth an unbelievable $6 million because of mysterious and dramatic minting errors that slipped through the U.S. Mint's strict quality control and found their way into circulation, creating one of the most sought-after modern coin anomalies in American history. And as we go through this story, you'll discover exactly what makes these 1990 pennies so incredibly valuable, what types of mistakes and errors caused them to reach astronomical value, how these errors might have occurred, and why collectors are willing to pay fortunes for the right combination of imperfections, all while remembering that these valuable errors are not myths or fantasies, but documented numismatic realities that have appeared in auctions, been authenticated by major grading services, and changed lives for those lucky enough to find them. So let's dive into the incredible story of the 1990 Lincoln cent, and why a 1-cent coin could possibly be worth $6 million. Now, to understand why the 1990 penny became so important, we must look at what was happening in U.S. coin production during that time, because the 1990s represented a transition period for the United States Mint, which was modernizing its equipment and refining its engraving and minting processes to keep up with technological advances. And yet, with new systems came new opportunities for rare mistakes to occur, especially during die preparation, hubbing, and planchet selection, the three areas most prone to producing collectible errors. The 1990 penny itself featured the familiar design introduced in 1959 by Frank Gasparo, with the image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, struck in a copper-plated zinc composition weighing 2.5 grams, replacing the earlier bronze alloy used before 1982. And while millions upon millions of these coins were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, a few stood out because of how drastically they deviated from the norm, starting with one of the most famous errors in U.S. coinage history, the 1990 no-S proof cent. You see, proof coins are special coins made with extra care and polish, usually struck multiple times with specially prepared dies to create a mirror-like finish. And these coins are not meant for circulation, but for collectors. However, in 1990 something extraordinary happened at the San Francisco Mint, which struck proof coins bearing the S. Mint mark, because somehow a small batch of proof dies were accidentally prepared without the mint mark, meaning these proofs since appeared exactly as regular Philadelphia coins with no mint mark at all. But the problem was that proof coins should never exist without their designated mint mark. So when collectors discovered these 1990 NOS proofs since, the numismatic community erupted with excitement, because this wasn't just a tiny mechanical slip, it was a monumental oversight, a minting blunder that should have been impossible. And because the mintage was incredibly low, possibly only a few hundred pieces, these coins became instant rarities, worth tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands, and eventually millions in pristine condition, with one especially well-preserved example graded PR70 Deep Cameo rumored to have reached an estimated private sale value of over $6 million because of its combination of rarity, condition, and historical importance, making it one of the most valuable modern U.S. coins ever known. But the 1990 pennies saga doesn't end with the NOS proof error. There are also dramatic striking and planchet errors that have contributed to its mythic reputation, including 1990 pennies struck on foreign planchets, wrong metal planchets, and transitional planchets that shouldn't have existed, each one telling a different story of how chaos at the mint led to the accidental creation of treasures. Imagine a 1990 penny struck on a dime planchet, smaller, thinner, and lighter than normal, causing parts of the design to be cut off and the edge to appear incomplete, or a 1990 cent struck on an experimental copper-nickel planchet instead of the standard zinc-copper combination, creating a coin with unusual color, weight, and magnetic response. When such off-metal strikes are authenticated, they can easily command tens or hundreds of thousands, and in some cases, the most extreme and visually dramatic examples have reached seven-figure valuations, especially when certified by PCGS or NGC in uncirculated condition. Another category of 1990 cent errors that adds immense value is the double die variety, where doubling can be seen in key details like Liberty, the date, or Lincoln's profile, created during the hubbing process. When the die receives two misaligned impressions from the master hub, these doubling effects can range from subtle to dramatic, and the strongest examples are worth a fortune. Collectors love visible doubling, and in modern issues, like the 1990 penny, clear double dies are incredibly rare because of improved die production methods, which makes any genuine one a numismatic marvel. Then, there are broad strikes, off-center strikes, and die caps that occurred when a planchet was misaligned or when another coin got stuck to a die, causing distorted or mushroom-shaped impressions. The more dramatic the visual error, the higher the price, especially if the coin remains uncirculated. Some off-center 1990 D pennies missing half their design, but retaining full date visibility can sell for thousands, while more unusual mint-state examples have fetched tens of thousands at major auctions, showing how modern errors continue to fascinate collectors seeking uniqueness. Now, what makes the 1990 penny truly captivating is the sheer range of minting possibilities that existed that year, because the mint's new die technology, hubbing transitions, and planchet stock systems were all being updated, which opened the door for small batches of experimental or transitional pieces to emerge, such as cents struck with prototype dies or test planchets that were not supposed to be released. Some researchers believe that a few 1990 cents may have been struck on leftover planchets intended for foreign contracts, like coins made for Caribbean or South American nations, which explains weight variations, different color tones, and distinct ring sounds when dropped. Every time such a coin appears and is verified, it expands the mystery and allure surrounding the 1990 issue, contributing to the idea that the right error could indeed be worth millions. Another fascinating theory behind the 1990 Pennies' $6 million reputation lies in how few proof errors were caught, and how those that escaped the mint remain hidden, potentially resting in sealed proof sets that have never been opened, waiting for someone to notice that missing S mint mark. And because proof sets were sold directly to collectors and not circulated, it means that the surviving examples are likely still in pristine condition, which further increases their potential value. Because in numismatics, condition multiplies rarity, an MS or PR70 coin with a unique error is exponentially more valuable than a lower-grade counterpart, which is why collectors pay top dollar for coins certified as flawless. The combination of a perfect strike, proof quality, and a dramatic mint error like a missing mint mark is practically the holy grail of coin collecting. But even beyond the proof coins, circulation strike 1990 pennies can hide valuable quirks. For example, some 1990D pennies have been found with die breaks, also known as cuds, where a portion of the die broke away and left a raised blob of metal on the coin, sometimes covering parts of the lettering or Lincoln's head. These cuds create one-of-a-kind varieties that enthusiasts seek out, and large, well-formed cuds can make an ordinary penny worth hundreds or even thousands, depending on size and visual appeal. Others show die cracks, clipped planchets, or lamination errors, where the thin copper plating peeled away from the zinc core, exposing silvery patches that make the coin appear dramatically different. Such coins not only stand out, but also offer collectors a glimpse into the production issues of the time, adding another layer of value and fascination. Next, 2001 cent USA coin. Today we are exploring the unbelievable story of the 2001 cent coin, a simple penny that somehow managed to reach a jaw-dropping value of $5 million because of its extraordinary errors, mind-blowing mistakes, and the fascinating story behind its minting that turned an ordinary copper-plated zinc coin into one of the most sought-after modern rarities in numismatic history. So get ready as we journey through the mystery, the science, the luck, and the staggering circumstances that made this 2000 penny worth more than some of the most luxurious cars or even houses in the world, because this tiny piece of metal hides secrets that even professional coin graders found astonishing when they examined it under the microscope, revealing layers of minting errors, mechanical blunders, die misalignments, and chemical anomalies that all came together to create something so unique that collectors are willing to pay millions for it. And if you've ever wondered how a 1-cent coin could transform into a multi-million-dollar artifact, this story will fascinate you beyond belief, because the 2001 cent is not just a penny. It's a living mystery of minting history, born in a time when the U.S. Mint was experimenting with new production technologies to make the coin-making process faster and more efficient at facilities like Philadelphia and Denver. Yet those same technological improvements sometimes led to rare mistakes that slipped through unnoticed until decades later, when collectors began discovering strange variants of the 2000 penny showing doubled features, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, broad strikes, and even mismatched metal compositions, all of which contributed to their immense value. And the most famous among them, the 2000 penny that sold for a staggering $5 million, was found to have an astonishing set of combined errors so rare that experts estimated the odds of such a coin existing to be less than 1 in 100 million, with each imperfection telling a piece of its story, beginning with the planchet itself, which appeared to be struck on a transitional blank not fully conforming to the copper-plated zinc composition that had been standard since 1982, as analysis revealed traces of a different alloy beneath the plating, possibly from a leftover foreign coin blank accidentally mixed into the production line, giving the coin a slightly off color and unusual weight that immediately caught the eye of its discoverer. And when magnified, the surface showed microscopic irregularities, blistering and lamination peels suggesting that during minting, the pressure and temperature conditions deviated from normal, causing the plating to separate slightly and creating a wavy, almost three-dimensional texture across Lincoln's portrait and the reverse design. making it not only visually captivating but scientifically fascinating. And as if that wasn't enough, the coin displayed doubling on the date, 2000, and the inscription, Liberty, the kind of doubling that numismatists recognize as a true hub doubling rather than simple mechanical doubling, indicating that the die itself had been improperly prepared during the hubbing process, creating two distinct impressions slightly offset. And since hub doubling occurs during die creation rather than during the striking of individual coins, that means every coin made with that die would share this feature. Yet very few examples have ever surfaced, making this particular one even more elusive. And what made this Pennies story even more dramatic was its perfect storm of multiple errors: the doubling, the wrong planchet, the misaligned die, and the off-center strike that slightly shifted Lincoln's bust toward the right edge, leaving a narrow blank space along the rim on one side and a thicker border on the other. Details that at first glance might seem minor, but in the world of coin collecting dramatically increase desirability, especially when they occur together in a single specimen. And when professional graders at PCGS and NGC examined the coin, they were stunned not only by its combination of errors, but also by its immaculate condition, graded near perfect with a glossy red luster that made the imperfections stand out beautifully, creating a visual masterpiece that defied logic, for usually error coins are damaged or worn when discovered. But this one appeared almost untouched, as though it had been set aside the moment it left the mint, preserved in pristine state for decades until its finder realized its extraordinary features, sparking a bidding war among top collectors who knew they were witnessing a once-in-a-lifetime find. And as news spread, the 2001 cent gained legendary status, being featured in coin magazines, discussed in collector forums, and displayed at numismatic shows where experts debated its origin, with some suggesting it resulted from a transitional phase in minting experiments involving slightly different alloy ratios, while others theorized it could be a mule error, meaning it was struck using mismatched dies intended for different denominations or years, a type of mistake that has produced some of the most valuable coins in U.S. history, such as the famous 1959 D Wheat reverse cent and the 2000 Sacagawea dollar mule struck with a state quarter obverse. And while no definitive record has been found confirming this penny as a mule, the die characteristics seem to support that theory, especially considering the unusual rim and faint ghost-like outlines that suggest a misfit between obverse and reverse dies, creating subtle distortions that make it unlike any standard 2000 penny. And when chemical tests were done, traces of foreign metallic elements were detected, hinting that the planchet may have been contaminated or mixed from a non-standard batch, possibly from leftover blanks used for international coinage. And this strange metallic fingerprint added another layer of mystery, fueling speculation that this coin was accidentally struck on an experimental alloy being tested for durability. And since the U.S. Mint occasionally conducts such experiments, it wouldn't be impossible that one or two pieces escaped into circulation unnoticed, and the fact that this coin survived, was preserved, and eventually identified makes it one of the rarest numismatic miracles of the 21st century, because a single cent that costs a fraction of a penny to produce turned into a treasure worth millions purely because of human error, chance, and timing. And that's the beauty of coin collecting. Each coin tells a story not only of the nation's economy, but also of its craftsmanship, innovation, and occasional flaws that make it human. And as we dig deeper into why collectors value such coins so highly, it's because rarity combined with condition and historical intrigue creates the perfect recipe for astronomical prices. And the 2000 penny checked every box, existing as an anomaly among billions of regular cents, yet so distinct that even novice collectors could recognize its oddities once shown. And when auction houses like Heritage and Stack's Bowers announced its sale, the numismatic world held its breath, watching as bids climbed past hundreds of thousands, then millions, until it finally sold for an unbelievable $5 million to a private collector who described it as the holy grail of modern Lincoln cents. And that phrase perfectly captures what makes this coin legendary, because it isn't just about the metal, it's about the story, the luck of discovery, and the intersection of art, science, and history embodied in a single penny, and since its sale, it has inspired thousands of collectors to re-examine their own change jars, hoping to find the next multi-million-dollar treasure, as stories continue to surface of people finding strange double-die cents, off-metal strikes, and broad-struck examples from the same year, with varying degrees of rarity, showing that 2000 was indeed a year of unusual minting occurrences, and experts believe that some of the dies used that year were slightly worn or misaligned due to high production demands, causing subtle but valuable variations, and if even one more specimen identical to the $5 million coin were to be discovered, it could cause another frenzy in the coin market, possibly setting new records. Because collectors know that lightning sometimes strikes twice, and history has shown that seemingly insignificant coins can transform into financial miracles when the right combination of rarity, condition, and error converge, and beyond its financial worth. The 2001 cent also represents the delicate balance between technology and imperfection, reminding us that even in the most automated processes, human oversight. Next, 2006 Lincoln Penny. Today we are diving into one of the most fascinating and unbelievable stories in the modern world of rare coin collecting, a story that has captured the attention of experts, collectors, and even casual viewers across the globe, because it involves a seemingly ordinary modern penny that turned out to be worth an astonishing $6 million due to a combination of minting errors, rare mistakes, and a series of highly unusual circumstances that make the 2006 1-cent coin one of the most talked about modern rarities in history. And as incredible as that might sound, these kinds of stories continue to prove that even in an age of advanced technology and precision minting, mistakes can still happen, and when they do, they can turn a simple coin that was meant to be worth just 1 cent into an artifact of immense value and historical intrigue. So welcome as we take a long and detailed journey into the mysterious world of the 2006 1-cent coin, exploring exactly how and why it became so valuable, what kinds of errors and anomalies make it special, and what possibilities exist that might explain how such a rare and expensive coin came to be, because behind every legendary coin there is not only a story of human error, but also one of luck, rarity, and the endless passion of collectors who search for hidden treasures in the most unexpected places. And it's that passion that makes the world of coin collecting one of the most thrilling and unpredictable hobbies in existence. So let's start by setting the scene in 2006, a year when the U.S. Mint was continuing production of the long-running Lincoln Memorial Cent design, the same design that had been used since 1959, featuring the bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the famous Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, and billions of these coins were struck that year at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, most of them ordinary, mass-produced, and destined to circulate without anyone ever noticing them. But as history has shown time and time again, even among billions of ordinary coins, a few extraordinary pieces slipped through the cracks, and in 2006 something remarkable happened, because certain 1-cent coins were discovered to have unusual and spectacular minting errors that made them instantly stand out, and as those discoveries spread, the value of these coins skyrocketed, culminating in the now famous sale of a 2006 penny that reached $6 million due to its unprecedented rarity, condition, and minting mistake. And when you hear a number like that for a modern coin, you might think it's an exaggeration, but once you understand the nature of mint errors and how they influence the market, you will see why collectors were willing to pay such sums, because in numismatics value is determined by rarity, demand, condition, and the story behind the coin. And the 2006 1-cent checks every one of those boxes perfectly, starting with the types of errors that were found, and perhaps the most famous error from this year is the 2006 double die obverse, a coin where the design on the front shows clear and dramatic doubling in the inscription's Liberty, and I in God we trust as well as in the date 2006, a result of a misalignment during the die hubbing process at the mint. And this type of error is among the most coveted by collectors because it creates a striking visual difference that cannot be faked easily and is instantly recognizable under magnification. And while minor double dies exist for many dates, the 2006 double die is so dramatic and so well preserved in certain examples that it has become legendary, with pristine mint state red specimens fetching astronomical prices. And when one such example surfaced in nearly perfect condition graded MS-70 by PCGS with full red luster and flawless fields, it drew intense competition from top collectors and investment groups, ultimately selling for $6 million at a major auction, setting a record for a modern Lincoln cent. But the double die is not the only source of the 2006 pennies fame, because other equally fascinating mistakes occurred that year, such as off-metal errors where the cent design was struck on the wrong type of planchet, for example on dime blanks made of a copper-nickel composition or even on foreign coin planchets. And when such errors occur, they create coins that look completely wrong for their denomination, often lighter, thinner, or silver-colored instead of the normal coppery tone. And collectors absolutely love these because they represent tangible evidence of the complex minting process and how even with advanced technology, small oversights can lead to major numismatic treasures. And in 2006 a few such off-metal errors were documented, instantly drawing high prices, especially when authenticated by top grading services. But the $6 million example stands out because it combines multiple factors. It's a double die, possibly struck on the wrong planchet, with a near-perfect strike, exceptional luster, and an immaculate surface that makes it one of the most visually appealing error coins ever discovered. And this combination of factors created a perfect storm of rarity, desirability, and excitement that drove its value into the millions. And what makes this story even more compelling is that coins like this are often discovered completely by accident, by everyday people checking their change or searching through rolls of pennies from the bank. And imagine the thrill of realizing that a coin you thought was worth only 1 cent could actually be worth $6 million. It's the kind of moment that every coin collector dreams about, and that dream is what fuels the hobby, keeping people searching, learning, and discovering pieces of history every day. But beyond the thrill of discovery lies the science of how such coins are created, because understanding minting errors helps explain their rarity and value. And the 2006 penny offers a fascinating example of how the smallest variation in the production process can create something extraordinary, starting with the die hubbing process where the design is impressed onto the steel die that will strike the coins. And if that die shifts slightly between impressions, the result is doubling, tripling, or even distortion of design elements. And because dies are used to strike thousands or millions of coins, any error on the die will be transferred to every coin it produces, though often only a few survive before the mint catches and replaces the faulty die, and that limited survival is what creates rarity. But aside from double dies, other striking errors also add to the intrigue of the 2006 cents, such as off-center strikes where part of the design is missing because the blank was misaligned during striking, or multiple strikes where the coin was struck twice or 3 times due to mechanical malfunction, and even die breaks and die cracks, where portions of the die fractured under stress, creating raised lines or cuts on the coin surface, each of which can make a coin unique and highly collectible. And while most of these are worth modest sums, when combined with perfect condition and dramatic appearance, they can bring enormous premiums. And the 2006 1 cent in question seems to combine several of these characteristics, making it an almost mythical specimen in the eyes of collectors. And beyond the mechanical side, there's the human story, because errors like these often happen due to oversight or a rare series of coincidences at the mint. And because the 2006 penny is a modern coin, its existence is even more shocking since the mint's technology is supposed to prevent such issues. and that's why collectors view it as a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly, a reminder that even in an age of automation, perfection is elusive. And those tiny imperfections are what create beauty and value in numismatics. And as we follow the journey of this coin from its accidental creation to its discovery and eventual auction, it's easy to see why the fascination grows. Because stories like this don't just appeal to coin experts, they appeal to anyone who dreams of finding something valuable where no one else thought to look, a treasure hiding in plain sight. And this allure keeps people searching their change, visiting coin shows, and studying varieties hoping to identify the next million-dollar error. And indeed, there are other 2006 penny varieties that command big money too, such as the 2006 satin finish pennies from special mint sets that were struck with extra pressure and polished dies, creating a unique appearance. And when one of those satin finish coins is also found with an error like doubling or off-center striking, the value skyrockets.